Hey, we're going to do a little bit of simplicity with our postural support with the props. So I want you to start with a rolled up blanket horizontal across your mat. Have a bolster on top at the short end of the bolster so you get a little bit of lift. And I'm going to give you one extra idea today you can work with. The blanket on the top, I like to have it at we call it, quarter fold. There's all different names for blanket folding that I'm learning more and more. It'll take me some time to get better at that after my training, but I do want you to recognize that your blanket, it could be this way. You could fold it to make it a little bit higher if that's better for your breathing. It's okay for you to do that, but I would be careful to not spend a lot of energy on rounding in your neck here. So you might try to get a feeling of the center of the back of your skull and then some expansiveness to the outer, from the spine and out to the ears. So that means the blanket could be this way, it could be this way, right, in a low fold, okay? Now, as you sit in front of the bolster, safe from touching, first things first, soles of the feet towards each other, blocks under the legs. Now this could be knees, it could be a little higher up, but don't feel like you have to position it perfectly yet. But find that situation so you can feel your tailbone dropping. Okay. Now this is not arching, it's not scooping the tailbone under, it's just feeling the position as you lie back. Okay, so take a belt, buckle up so you have a big loop. Okay, might as well go big because you can always cinch it up. Overhead around the back, and then as I scoop up my feet with my belt, I'm going to pull on the tail of the belt so it gets snug, but I'm going to position the belt pretty low at the back of the pelvis. Okay, now I'm going to reach the belt down so it's around, so I can feel from my sacrum out to the SI area, but it feels like it's kind of holding my pelvis. And as I lower back, feeling how the tailbone, how the base of the spine, feel if you can create subtle movements there, and it's not required. You can always just center back and be good, I got this. But the blocks could change the experience of the back of the pelvis. So I'm going to contour my block. Instead of it being just kind of flat, I'm going to turn it in so that I can position and relax, actually, because it's easier on my legs with the block, not jabbing them. And my belt's it's pretty toned. There's a lot of tone and pressure to hold my feet here. Now you could scoop the feet in the belt so you can have the belt a little bit higher. I like it across the arch. So the top of my foot to the ankle blend is where it's holding. And then a sandbag is an option, and it could be at your belly. It could be from the heart to the belly. But you might sometimes try it a little bit lower so that you can focus on the movement in your ribs without pressure. It's okay either way. We've been spending most of our energy on sand on the breathing muscles, and the belly doesn't have, right, the belly organs doesn't have the diaphragm set in there, it just pushes there. So you decide, sand across lower, sand straight down, heart to belly. Relax your arms out. And center the focus on the ease of the breath. Relaxing your eyes. This is a perfect shape to have maybe even an eye pillow. If it just drops off your face, you can have it at your forehead. And feeling where the shoulders relax back. And the span of the breath reaches down to the belly. As you in-breath, and as you exhale, it motions up towards the heart. Now, as we lie here in the shape to influence our hips, our back, our abdominals, and our chest. Make any final adjustments, right, before we center on it for an extra minute here. So if you find you need to scratch your nose, move the sandbag so it's across, anything, you can always change it and feel if there's a possibility to relax deeper in the pose. Right? That's the key, is can we restore? The feet don't have to push perfectly, they can relax at the toes. Finally relaxing the tongue, the mouth. Now with the back line touching down on the support, you can either keep the sand on the front spine, right, or you can remove it. If it's on the from the heart down, you might move the sand down to the belly area or put it away off to the side. But reach the hands together, interlace at the roots of the fingers, and just turn the hands inside out to the ceiling and back, maybe overhead, maybe just kind of feel the movement in the ribs, the back rib space as the arms reach behind you. Feel how it works into the shoulders, how it kind of brings heat into the shoulders as we reach together, our hands together. And then relax the grip of the hands. Let your elbows reach down by your sides, and then moving the sand off. I'm going to recommend that you just put the sand over to the side for this next little set. So as we unbuckle, there is the buckle on your belt, okay? Let's take a figure four pose. So as I move my knees to point up, I want to get a feel of holding my blocks, moving my knees to point up, and you might even walk your feet in so you can feel where the blocks are. It's not a bad thing to feel the blocks there. And you might even put the blocks so they point lengthwise, perpendicular down towards the calves. You can kind of feel I hold the blocks, I push them down to my calves. And that's a good distancing, right? Generally, okay, speaking. In fact, I don't want my feet to slide too far down. And then I'm going to do the best I can to position my hip center, move from my pelvis. So even if I bring my right leg up and shift the ankle to the left knee, I'm kind of doing a little bit of a twist at the back of the pelvis. I'm not trying to frame it so the pelvis is stiffening or tightening. I want to feel a little swing in the hip. Okay, blocks go aside, ball goes to the left upper outer thigh, and then let your knees lean to the left. So the left foot, the bottom foot, is sickled a little bit. So you are on the side of the foot. You can use your block under your right foot or simply hold the left knee or the right knee. If you want to hold your left knee too, you can use both hands. But as you're holding, if there's a block supporting you, that's okay. We're not trying to go to the end range. We're feeling a healthy sensation in the hip. And if it's been a while since you were practicing, just be gentle. Maybe you come back to figure four center and then lean over to the left. But the ball is hopefully there to help you. If you don't have a ball, you can use like a pillow, like a small little pillow, or a wadded up towel or a sandbag. Take a few more breaths here. Holding onto the right knee. Breathing. Head relaxes back. And now release the knee and grasp onto the ball. and move it over under the right hip, lift the hips up, okay? And then start to roll out that right glute. Get a feeling of moving across the back of the pelvis, meaning you're wagging your tail, okay? And it depends on the size of, like, for instance, I'm using a little smaller one today. I think I like both sizes for rolling. So as I roll across, you could even use a tennis ball or two. You just put a perpendicular on the edge of the glute, right on the border, right? The glute medius, right on the border of the hip. But when you get a feeling of moving across, the feeling of moving, and that touch into the glute musculature, right? So rub across the glute zone, the glute zone 1. Okay, and then arms relax down and take a few moments. It doesn't need to be counting the breath, just experiencing the sensation in the glute. Okay, and then maybe you start to get a little awareness in that left hip. I get a barely an awareness in here. And then when I shift down, move the ball just slightly to the upper outer right thigh, left ankle to the right knee. Okay. And then as you let your knees lean to the right, you hold on to the left knee this time. And the positioning of the block might actually feel helpful, okay, under your left foot. Maybe you put it under the left or the right knee. You could use that as well. But maybe give a try for supporting your leg, either the left foot or the right knee with a block, and just see if that helps you relax into it. I don't want you to feel like you're on the edge, kind of on the precipice of pushing the end range of your hip. So feeling that soak of sensation in the left hip, holding onto the left knee with the right hand, left arm can relax out. You could stretch it back besides your head. Now I'm going to go on the focus of getting the shape and then settling in and not exerting as much. Kind of feel the energy that moves into these areas. Take another couple moments here. Breaths, maybe one long sweep or two. And as you release the grasp on the left knee, bring the knees back center, take the ball from that right side, reach the knees back to the right, and then carefully just roll it under that left glute. So it could be right on the edge, right? Doesn't need to be stuffed under, because once you get up on the ball, right, you kind of mount on it, you might find that moving the hips allows it to roll, I hope, a little bit. Doesn't need to roll very far under, but feeling where the muscles are getting a stretch by rolling. It's like that stretch reflex when you roll onto these muscles. So pressing, gliding, and finding just the right way of movement, whether it's side to side or it's just kind of sitting on the ball, kind of finding a knot, or it's a little bit grippy in the hippie, and then going side to side. Small movements, wider movements. Neither is more advanced, right? It's getting to know yourself. That's the whole experience here. The challenges internally, the feelings in the muscles. And then as we glide across, these are kind of small packages of movement today. We're going to move the ball to the left. Actually, it can go either way. And you're going to roll to the left side. My hope is you roll with a little bit more ease than I do, right? Just roll to the side. Take the hands to place down besides your bolster. Actually, move your belt off of your mat. And we're going to come into a twist without leaning into the bolster at first. Okay. So positionally, I have my left foot touching to my right thigh. You could sit on height. So if you're sitting in this position and trying to turn, I want you to be able, okay, I'll show you kind of from the back view as well. I want you to be able to move from the pelvis when you turn, okay? So it's not sitting on sitting bones and then ribs moving. It's everything moves. Okay, almost everything, maybe not your feet. Okay, but you've got to have a frame so the left foot is to that right thigh. And what I mean is you could sit on a blanket if this is difficult for you to lean into. But as you bring your hands on the floor besides the bolster, I take a kind of a wide reach with my hands, and I'm just going to walk my hands a little bit away from my left knee and then twist and look over to that left side. Okay? Now, do you have to look over your shoulder? No, I want you to feel how the pelvis is trying to move. So the sacrum pelvis is moving together with the rotation. Okay? All right, now just lower down on your bolster. So if you were twisting and going kind of far left, like almost over to the other side of the bolster, now we just get right up to the bolster with our left hip and we let the waist lower down and we turn our head to the right. Probably, maybe some of you want to have your forehead on the blanket so you're not twisting your neck at all. So on this one, I kind of like sometimes to put a block under the bolster and as well as the blanket so it's really easy to get into. But if you want a deeper twist, you don't want to add more height, okay? But it is okay to grab a block and just kind of see, oh, okay, I'll just try. Maybe the blanket will stay just like that and see how easy that is. And it's okay to make it easy, right? You might move the blanket down. That way you can hug the bolster and relax in the shoulders. Okay, so you'd be the decider on the block idea. Okay, if we're kind of used to this amount of flexibility in the group with the spine going this low, so I imagine it might be easeful for most of us just to keep it with how it's been. But know there's options. Let your spine twist gently into the shoulder blades, opening across the back. And relax your breath. You know, of course, if you have an assistant to put a sandbag across your shoulder blades. Okay, and if not, right, I just let the back kind of melt. I just get a feeling of my back muscles melting down to my shoulders and my elbows. If I breathe up in the chest, which is kind of something we tend to do, see if you can breathe into the rib space. Relax the face. Now slide the hands under your shoulders. Let your elbows swing open and press to come up. Okay, and now let's take our bolster and pivot the bolster so it's horizontal across the mat. And the blanket stacked behind you, you could just make it so they're both in a quarter fold and you just stack them. So you don't want one to be rolled up, but just have it so as if you're setting up for side sage. So I'm doing a particular method here where we're doing an actual kind of posture that creates a little bit of energy in our back. And then we're going into the restorative. It's a little active practice with the restore. So take a seat on your bolster. And I want to encourage you to have your blocks supporting you. You'll see how it works out with the blocks. But one block would be good. We're going to stretch the left leg out to that left side about between 10 and 11 o'clock. Okay. Ball can go under the left knee. And then a block under the right knee. Now my right foot is centered, right, on my mat. Okay, but this is often taught with the foot that's drawing towards the straight leg is touching to the left leg straight now. So I'm just going to kind of feel how my pelvis feels with it. Like if I feel just more cozy with my foot center or with my foot over to the left leg. We'll find out, huh? Okay, so get a sandbag on top of that right thigh. You can always change where your foot's at. Okay, feeling that you want broadness across the back, right? So widening in that lower back, not gripping. So if you're trying to get the foot to the knee, but it feels tighter in your side joint, just forget it. Okay, now we got a belt. Okay, we're gonna make a little bit of just a small loop. So buckle up and make a small loop and reach that little loop. Doesn't have to be little, but you're gonna make a longer belt this way. So you're gonna make a little loop, kind of like that. Scoop up your left foot. You might need to bend your knee to get your foot, the belt in the foot. And then you're gonna take that belt around to the left hip and then reach back with your right hand to that belt. And then I would encourage you to have your hand turn open when you're sliding your hand back on the belt to create the rotation. Okay? This is significant. Hand is open, not turned or rolling the shoulder, but opening. And left hand to the right knee. And as I turn, I can kind of move my left leg around if I feel so. But with rotation, feel the lift of the chest. Right up here, chest high. Feel all the arch material in your back, the archness of it. And then when you're holding the belt, if it's getting tiresome in your shoulder, just feels achy, just give yourself a little slack. It's okay. Okay. And with that rotation, deep breath in, ribs expand. And then as you exhale, we're gonna reach down with our left hand to the belt, on the left, above the left leg, holding, and then let go of the belt with your right hand and stretch the right arm out and straight up to the ceiling and maybe to that left side, but kind of feel your way, like feel stability. So if I lean in because I have maybe flexibility, I'm kind of losing the idea of how to integrate right structure with my back muscles, my ribs. So I like to do this one with my arm behind my back. So I can continue that sensation of rotation and livening up my back muscles. This feels pretty good. Breathing. And know you can always pass on any of these poses, right? There's no pose police here. Okay, now my left arm is kind of slack on my leg. I'm not trying to squeeze and bring my elbow down to the floor. I'm centering above that left leg, okay, just resting my arm. And then when you come out, let go of the belt, okay? Bring your left hand to the right knee, just take a full rotation, which is for me just an inhale, belly soft. Exhale, a little bit of twist. And then as I relax the grip on the knee, I turn forward and take a forward fold. I like to do this before side sage. So we're going to bring a left foot forward of the right shin. And what I recommend here is to get rid of your sand, okay? And just lean forward. So my left foot is forward of the right shin. Now I can put my left foot on a block, okay? I'm a big fan of this. Flexing my foot, right? So I'm not going to try to sickle it. I want to flex it so it's firm as I reach forward with my core. So heart, okay, no sand. Okay, hands could be on bolster, hands could shift back so the palms are touching onto the corner edge of the bolster to keep the shoulders rolling back. Yeah, come back up center. And then take the block, move it overhead on the other side of the blankets. Okay, and now we're going to take side sage. Okay, so we're in the final sage pose on this side. So this side's had a lot of work. So as I stretch my right leg back, I take a ball, place it under the inner knee. Some of us don't use a ball on this, so if that's you, that's okay. You can pass on that, that cue, and maybe add some weight to the right hip. So this is important, right? Is to feel where you get traction. So if you turn the sand and it's just not going to feel very steady, just turn it across, either way. but the left arm is in the gap between the bolster and the blankets, and the right arm sweeps either overhead to a block or moves, opening the chest, or it lowers down to your bolster, okay? And be sure that you have plenty of blankets for your neck support. So this would be one where we would be okay with more height under our head versus being on our back and rounding our neck more, right? We're on the side, okay? It doesn't have to be the thinnest pillow you might sleep with, right? So you can add some more bulk because you're posing your ribs up. Right? When you sleep, you probably don't have a bolster under your ribs, maybe you do. So you want to have some equal support under your head. So let's take some time here to elongate the side. We're going to plug into this one for at least a full minute more, if not 2. So center in. Maybe we'll do 22 minutes. And then you really have to set up your props so that you feel you can receive that much time in a pose. Okay, now with the arm deciding where to go, the upper arm. With the weight of your head, relax into the blankets. That's the deal on this one. Upper arm could be anywhere it feels okay for your shoulder. Which stretching for some of us, we want that feeling. Lighting in the joint. That's okay. But if it becomes achy, just come out of it, right? What's the difference between stretch and achy? Breathing. I'm going to take the final moments here. This means you could be in it longer if it's soothing for you. If you decide to stay longer, right, you can always hit mute and just stay in it until you're ready to continue with the practice. It's kind of nice to do. So let the weight of your head relax. Feel the difference between letting your head relax or pushing it into the blanket. And that might be rolling it a little bit to the left, just kind of feel a little movement, jostle through the neck. Now, shift, moving the sand off the hip. And now as we turn, if you're coming out of the pose, if you want to stay, you stay. Turn into hands and knees, alternating the movement of the back and the pelvis, which kind of are married, right? They're kind of together. So on a good day. Okay, so let's keep our bolster across, hands under shoulders, or somewhere like that. It could be a little bit forward, depends on how you feel with it. But as you're arching, if you feel the pressure on the knees is starting to magnify, put a blanket under them and round your back and arch. And kind of do a little scan of the feeling of the shins and the tops of the feet. Yeah, your dominant foot might not be able to press down very well at the line from the shin into the foot. It might feel like it's a little lifted. So just doing the work, maybe the knees come apart. That's easier on our back, really, not to have them too close. Okay, arching and flexing. And then feel your way into rounding your back now. Bring your hands to turn out. So my hands are on the mat, I turn them out, and then I lean my hips down to the bolster. Oh, the back of my knees are happy. My feet are turning in. Okay. And then I'm stretching to the torso so I can feel my hands press the floor away into an upward dog. Okay, now feel, maybe close your eyes to feel what this is like in the, well, for instance, you might feel your wrists, right? But we want to emphasize the back energy, that little squeeze into the kidneys, kidney time. Get some heat there. And then when you come back to table, just push your blankets forward, away, turn your bolster lengthwise, and then come down onto your bolster, like kind of give it up. So here's where I want us to take a moment here where we have our elbows on the floor into what we call Sphinx pose. So elbows down. If you're pushing against a wall, you might scoot a little forward. You don't want to have your feet kind of crammed up here. You do want to feel like your legs can move apart so your lower back is happier. In other words, not feet together, right? So legs relax apart, back of the pelvis relaxes, elbows down under the shoulders, and then feel now the arch through the mid to upper. Now, that's not the best area to do arching. Our lumbar is better, right? But I want you to separate from the elbow to the hand a little bit out, press down through the forearms. Okay, then as you're lowering your head down, you're going to put a blanket under. So I'm going to use them all and just kind of see, because I want to have plenty. I'm going to turn my blankets lengthwise. Okay, so my arms can reach. Bring my forehead down to my blanket. Stack. Relax my elbows down. And just simply breathe. Relax your glutes. So if your rear muscles are gripping, just let go. And find some balance. If you need to bring your blanket a little bit higher into your forehead, do so. You can just roll it up. Blankets are such great props. They're very versatile, right? You can roll them, you can wad them up. Use that blanket softening to your forehead. Slide the hands back. Okay, if your grips if you grip the glutes a lot, if you're really gripping in that moment, which I did, see if you can let the glutes stay relaxed when you slide the hands back. Just try. And then palms press. I know there's some grip here, but as you come up, see if you can stretch your torso forward. Feel that little bit of grip in the glutes. And then come back to table. Round the back into cat pose, chin towards chest, tail under. And then come back to neutral. Shift the knees and close. Okay. Now we got to set up our situation here. So come down to your hip. Now you have to stay on the knees. Take a blanket and roll it up. Let's make it just as good as the first side. So you want to make a little bit of a roll here with blanket 1 on side 2. And, okay. And then add your bolster on top. And your blanket quarter fold. It doesn't have to be like horizontal. It could be, you could have it like that, right? You really could. But I tend to position it this way so it kind of keeps my bolster down, kind of puts a weight on it. And then I'm going to switch to my right hip. Okay. Be sure you're far enough away from any wall space so you're not pushing into it with your feet. And then as I lean in, my hands are on the floor and I'm working with the twist. Okay, now twists are going to heat you up, right? They're going to heat up into the organs deeply. So if you're feeling like, oh my gosh, this is a real warming, there's a warming trend going on, that's what's happening internally, right? And so if you need to cool it off a little bit, then don't push as much into your seat, right? But do feel from the back muscles, all this whole area, back of the pelvis, or actually how about the whole pelvis, not just the back? Because the pelvis is everything, right? You're trying to create movement with your palms on the ground. And if this is tricky for you, one thing I really like to teach on this one is a block under the hands. These are very fun. Okay, and then you take the twist with the block under your hands and feel how that movement is in your back. A little easier for me, okay, because I'm short, right? So this just makes it, my arms feel a little longer. Okay, now, should I have a goal to go towards 2 o'clock on the right? And my goal is to feel my back movement. And then I just let my waist lower down onto the bolster. I could keep my blocks under my hands, okay? But I'm going to turn my head to the left and relax down. So my blocks could be under my elbows, or my arms could be on the floor, or under the bolster, okay? And remember, this is the one where you could put that block under the bolster. And it looks so easy, doesn't it? Then I don't even need really any mobility to get there, but this is a way to rest, right, and relax. So if that meets your need, then go for it. So relax the ribs, the arms, shoulders, and feeling that stretch at the back of the pelvis, right? You can feel its movement. Kind of simplify here. And the left foot is back, right? It doesn't need to push far back the left leg, but the right foot rests to the left thigh when I take the twist. Hands slide in under the shoulders, pushing, and feel how that energy is in the hip that's touching down. Okay, and as you come up, you're just going to take the bolster from under the blanket, turn it, and then we kind of know where we're going, maybe. Okay, so we sit on the bolster, let the right leg stretch out, and we place a ball under the right knee, and a sandbag on the left thigh, and maybe a block under that left. Okay, so you might kind of be kind of trying to figure out the movement range that we're going into, the range of motion, finding the balance. Sometimes you got to trust the teacher, what we're studying. But keep it simple where you kind of come to center, finding some symmetry in the chest, where there's symmetry and where there's not, right? Because we're not symmetrical anyway with our organs and so forth, or even as we age, right, with parts, with areas that have injury. So when you take your belt under your right foot, move that belt behind you with your hands to pull it back, and then grab a hold of the belt with your left hand and give yourself some freedom. So if I hold onto the belt, I'm not trying to bring my hand as close to my hip as possible. I'm just going to just let my right hand bring the belt over to my left, and then I'm going to take that twist to the left. So my palm is open, okay, holding onto the belt, right hand to left knee, and then I take that rotation. I'm making this side a little easier actually. So I could bring my hand closer. Some people bring it as far back to the hip as they can and crank around. But instead of using leverage and pressure, feel how you're moving from your ribs to the left. Feel the different sides of the abdominals, right, that are in motion and strengthening. And as your hand touches that left knee, breathe. Right, the breath is your nervous system's best friend. So as you're rotating, you can relax the shoulders back, maybe. And then you're going to reach to that right leg. So reach to the belt that's above that right leg, feeling as you're gaining that hold of the belt with your right hand, that the inner arm is feeling that. You're probably feeling everything, right? It's an arm situation, it's a shoulder situation. But the nice thing about props is you can work on elongating, right? Not necessarily the bolster helping you elongate, but it brings you up. So the left arm can stretch over the left side of the face. It can also stay behind you. But as you're pulling with the right hand, feeling that right upper arm, let your head turn to the right leg. There's no have to's with the neck right now. So if you're feeling like you're cranking around, relaxing, forehead towards the right leg, and feel that pull. Feel that left side of the back stretching. Is there anything you could enjoy about this, right? And some of us show up because it's good for us, but finding a way to be curious about the awareness that's building, the connection internally. Let your right hand slide on the belt to help you come up carefully through your back. Okay, and you can let go of the belt and then turn to the left to kind of find that full sweep through the twist, the sides reach, and the twist again. Just find how competent you are at touching the leg, lifting the heart, and twisting. Just simple. And then from that back, energetic, that crossing in the back, you're gonna just let go of the knee, slide, and then turn forward and bring the right foot. I like to use a block under my foot, but some of us like to have our foot on the ground. It's a deeper stretch with your foot on the floor, but I want to find something really careful for my knee joint, so I have my knee up. It supports my hip stretch. I can go sand free on this one. I don't think you need it. And then as you're lifting up at the sternum, kind of feeling where the back muscles are activated. And then you're going to tilt from the hinge of the hips. So feeling that quality of sensation on the inner leg, wrapping around the back of the side of the hip to the pelvis. The hands could touch onto the bolster. And you could have your hands on your upper thigh too. Just take a few moments here, feeling the body leaning forward, breathing. And back on up. Slide the foot off of the block and then come into that side sage. It's kind of the completion of the sage poses. So when I come down, you might just shift off the bolster, turn to the right hip, and then move a block on the other side of the blankets. I mean, I have a whole mess here of blankets. So as I stack them up, they don't have to be perfect. I know I try to get the fringes on one end, but it's just kind of silly. Just stack up your blankets. And so you don't really lose the pace of movement in your back from the sequence. You want to kind of keep going with it. So I'm going to double fold this top blanket and put a ball under my left knee. And then add a sandbag if you like. Yeah, so kind of feel where that support is of the bolster under your ribs. Okay. Now, if you're using a round bolster, go for it. That's up to you. But as you're leaning in, with the weight of your head relax into the blankets. Let the areas that we tend to hold, especially our neck, feel that relaxing. And then extend the left arm overhead. Okay, now, if that's too much on your shoulder, don't do it. But if you want, you can have your upper arm opening and moving. You can have your hand rest on the bolster. And then set up so that you feel supported by the props. Breathing. Feel the bottom side relaxing into the props, and you could say the top side, the left side, breathing. I know they're both breathing, but there's a little more open space rather than pushing into the bolster. But the bolster is not that different than like your sand, right? Because there's pressure into the body. And then you're withstanding that with your breath cycle. Just explore it or relax into it. You don't have to do extra exploration. Okay? And we're going to come out in a few moments. So if you decide to stay a little longer inside Sage this shade, that is great. All up to you. Okay, but for kind of the sake of keeping this even pace, we were sitting moments ago, seated side angle, we call it, as opposed to recently, and we're holding the belt. So that has some similarities to this, right? That's why I was kind of leading us from that to here. The difference is you're just using gravity to help you with this one, a little more than grabbing a hold of the belt, pulling. So let's really use gravity right next, taking gravity off the spine. So when we roll to the right now, we're going to move the sand, and we're going to come on up with the ball, and then going to one blanket under your head. So I will recommend a blanket in a very low height. So this would be called a Tadasana fold, what we call it. Okay, so if I have a blanket like that and fold it, it's not that high. So when I come on down to my back, I've got my bolster under the back of my pelvis. I've got my belt nearby. And when I lower back, I have my tailbone at the edge. Yeah, and we focused on this in the training was when you're coming back into an inversion with your bolster, center of the room especially, is it the wall? You might not want to get that close and sit so close to the wall. So when you have your tailbone on the edge and the legs lift, just get your belt and we'll get kind of set up here. So reversing the flow. Now, if your hip flexors, if this feels kind of tightening up more, likely you need to move your legs a little bit back. Okay. So I sometimes get into this challenge and I don't like this area to feel tight at all. We'll do some brain floats, so we'll be able to relieve that. But first things first, just get your belt, buckle up, and make a big loop. So if your loop is kind of small, you can always make it a little bigger as you get your belt into your feet and you stretch up. So just start with your belt under the center of your feet. You can go up to the ball of the foot. You can move down to the center. It's all up to you. But I would encourage you to get the buckle and loosen it up and let the feet move out so the legs have a wider stance and feeling. So I've got my legs in a wide stance. You don't have to twist, but just so you see. And as I push out into the belt, I relax my tailbone on the edge of the bolster here, not on the short end, but in the center. Okay, so I'm developing that stretch into my core without having to do much. Okay, arms are relaxed open, breathing slow, let the shoulders relax back, and the knees can soften. And just letting that draining happen here. Take a few more moments, reversing the effects of gravity on the heart, on the muscles in the legs, and even the spine. That's the biggest part, probably, that we can effectively feel when we get up after class is, taking gravity off the spine, just giving it a little bit of relief from the pressure of the brain on top, the skull on top. I mean, it's still on top, but it's not pushing on it. So as you bend through the legs, bring your hands to reach up to your belt and just pull the belt towards your center. It could be belly, it could be heart. You might want to kind of play with that, and move it higher, move it lower, or just whatever. But as the feet go close together, we lower the left foot down so the foot feels the floor first, okay? And then you want your belt to be in a big enough loop that you can either place it to the center of the back of your skull. It doesn't have to be this way, though. If you decide I don't do brain float, you can either go with the brain float, or you can have your hands, palms together, and the belt is at the webbing of the thumb and the index stretching back, right? Okay. Now, before you get all energized with that, unless you're brain floating, you can brain float and then add your sand. You're going to place a sandbag on the top of that left thigh, and the sandbag could be lengthwise. It can also be turned across. If I can get it to be lengthwise, I think I prefer it. But once I set up this brain float, then I can kind of reposition things. But if you're using the hands to hold the belt, probably you need to position your sandbag first, okay? So this is it's really a leg float, regardless of what you do, brain or hands holding. The leg isn't a float up. So with the back of my leg extending, I want to make sure that the knee is not really twisting out or turning out, or especially it's turning in a little bit, but it's not getting pulled. So I want to make sure the side of my knee, the sides of my knee are comfy here, draining out, arms open. Find where it's relaxable in your arm scape, and the left leg is reaching down. Breathing. Relaxing your head. Let the back of the skull relax. And just maybe you'll feel where the neck is in traction. Doesn't mean you can't move the belt, right? You could move it a little bit up, a little bit down, just above the ears. You might find that's a good kind of bony landmark for the belt. And it can be a little bit elusive, right? Where do I put this belt? Right now I feel like it's pretty balanced, but my right ear feels higher than my left ear, but that's probably not true that much to feel that big of a gap. So you might have to turn your head a little bit. And it's pretty amazing. They're kind of probably somewhat even on most of us, right? There's I'm sure, little micro motions you can create to bring balance to your head and your back. Okay. And maybe lean it back a little bit more, feeling the back of that right leg into the calf. Now, before we switch to side 2, have both feet up in the belt. Okay, but it can mean the belt's off the back of your head. Okay, so what I like to do is bring my palms together inside the belt, bring my thumbs to grasp a hold of it, and then slide it off my head, headrest back on my blanket, and then both feet up, arms reach. Now the knees can be a little bit bendy here. It kind of feels nice. A little bendy in the knees, a little swinging of the hips side to side. You can definitely use that. And then switch sides. Right leg lowers down. Relax the right leg. Maybe shake it out a little bit. And then we take the belt and we either place it to the center of the back of our head, unless we kept it there, or to your hands reaching into this float of the leg, and then sand to that second top of the thigh. So it's going to feel more than a quadricep support. It's going to feel like it's maybe a little bit on that right psoas. So it depends on where you place your sand. Some of us like it to be fully a quad thing. So we turn the sandbag a little bit to the side, kind of pivot it so it really reaches that quad down. But caution on the knee. So if your foot's turning out a lot, I would say move your right foot a little out to the right side. So you'll have more success with the foot up and turning in slightly. Okay. This is why using a wall for this is exceptional. But it's not always easy to set that up, is it? Maybe we'll do that next week. We'll do this specifically. It's something you touch into, whether it's a block or a wall. If you don't have a wall space, we can create other ways. So have a little bending through that top leg, a little tiny bit of micro bend. If you're efforting a lot with the right foot to stay perfect, relax it a little bit, right? Feeling that your heel is resting and you're doing the best that you can with what you got. Yeah, the foot might turn out, but if I move it a little out to the side, the whole leg probably won't flop as much. Breathing. Feeling that little dose of squeezing at the throat and the thyroid, parathyroid area. Little squeeze. It's pretty easeful there. And as your head leans back, or your hands hold the belt and stretch back, but if you have your hands holding, your head is on the blanket and you're stretching back. Now moving to holding the belt. So we're going to take the belt off the back of our head. And then as you hold onto the belt with one hand, just slide the sand. It kind of comes off on its own here. But you're going to reach up with your right hand to the belt and cross the left leg to the right. Now I know that your bolster is kind of low on the back of the pelvis. So if you decide now you want to use your right foot to push, move yourself a little bit back on the bolster, that's okay. All right, that might feel appropriate for this shape. So the left leg crosses to the right to circulate into that left hip. Micro bends of the knees is fine, right? Always feel like you have that support from me to do a little micro bend in your knee. And then as you bring the leg up, kind of feel that flow back to the hip. So when I'm upside down, right, I'm reversing that gravitational pull in the leg muscles. And when I just shift so the right foot comes up, I slip it into the belt. Let my left leg lower down. And I do want to feel like I'm moving from my pelvis here. I know it's a leg thing, like, okay, we got a leg, we're holding the belt with our left hand now. We switch the hand on the belt, but feel like you can move from your pelvis. I know you're going to hear that a lot. Eventually I'll get tired of saying it, but these are the phrases that you repeat. Okay. So when you feel that turn, my hip is up, I'm reaching across with my right leg to the left, my arm is open, my right arm. I'm kind of warming it up for our little finale, our final spinal coming up. So stay tuned. It can only help. Okay, now bending the right knee, if you haven't already. And I would just say both feet up, right? We should do a little bit of a leg float finale here. So feet push out wide. Don't lose what you got in your hip movement because you were releasing them a moment ago. So you might go really wide with the feet on the second one. Not maximize it till you're shaking, right? That might mean that for some of us, it's really not that much more than we did before. And what I find if it's shaky is holding the belt makes a difference. Doesn't mean the shakes go away, but that can, cause more of a full back leg, foot to leg feel versus being kind of in outer space, trying to create that support into your hip joints here. Okay, support ankle and hip joints by holding the belt. That's a good option. Okay, so now I just slide the feet together, holding the belt, then slide them together. Bend the knees, and then as the belt, you shift it off your feet, just let your knees go side to side. I like to have a ball for this, but it's just not nearby right now. So if you don't have a ball nearby, just put a block between these. So the block would be the most narrow setting. Yeah, please don't feel like you have to scramble and get up and lose the form that you're in right now. So block center of the knees, you can tell a ball is a little bit more conforming to the legs because you can squeeze it. It's a responsive surface. A block is not responsive. It's a block. Okay, it's blocked. So as I come back center, I bring the knees in. I push the bolster carefully, slowly, away from the back of your precious pelvis, right? It's the only one you get, so go slow. And then once my feet are on the bolster, I actually like to do this. So I put my bolster against the wall. Sometimes I like that. So I'm going to scoot a little down, and I am going to keep my blanket close by. I don't want to go so far to the wall that now, and if you're not using a wall, it's fine, right? Totally fine. The wall just gives you a little definition. So now, get a ball, center the knees, have a block because we use that too, and your sand. And then you're just going to simply lift up the hips, stretch your arms overhead, and lower down the spinal column. With or without the bolster at the wall, but have a bolster under your feet. If you are not interested in the bolster under your feet, you can still practice this with your feet, of course, on the floor, right? Or at a wall. Like if your back is really tight, you can put your feet up at the wall and get a little more length in the back. Okay? So up and down the spine. Take a few more moments. I'll show how it is at the wall. If I have my feet at the wall, you can kind of tell I go higher on my back. More of a shoulder stand, isn't it? Yeah, and I get a little more massaging in my back. All that snap, crackle, pop feels kind of good. If my feet are on the bolster, it might seem easier for me to move because the wall can get slippery. Okay, last few drawbridges. Now find a drawbridge where you actually get the hips to go up and you're there. Take a block. I would say low setting if it's been a while since you practiced. Don't crank your back too much here. So just the lowest setting under the back of your pelvis. Yeah. If you turn the block up higher, it might be a little intense on your hip. You might find I like that on the hip because I get more stretch, but we're holding the ball. You don't have to hold the ball if you don't want to. It's up to you. So take a few moments with the hips supported by the bolster. You don't have to grip your glutes to be here. You just have them elevated. Okay, let your arms be down by the sides. If you've got a blanket, you're going to add a little bit of height under your head. Take a few breaths. It's certainly an option to put your feet at the wall on this one. If you're close to the wall, you feel really good. Holding, maybe you hold the ball to recruit the pelvic floor. few more moments, elevating the hips. Okay, now we bring the knees into the chest, right? If my feet are at the wall, I would do that. And then move the ball. My feet are on the bolster, I have to lift my hips first. And then move the block aside. And then lower down the spine. And then bring the knees in and grab the ball. Okay, so as we're getting ready to do a crossover with the leg revolve forward, I'm going to use a ball, place it under my left rear, and just let my hips move side to side to massage the left glute. If you don't want to use a ball or you don't have one, you can have your knees shift side to side, windshield wiper. And this is another way. This is like the first way I learned to do somatics, right? To work on loosening glutes. I just like the ball more, so that's all. Because it's a tool to massage, but you might prefer or don't have a ball. So let the hips move side to side. If you're a windshield wiper, you're doing knees side to side. Okay, so feeling the movement of your hips. That's key. Hips moving. Breathe. Pushing into the ball, but really the ball's pushing into your glutes. But you have to use, actually you can just use your body weight and a little bit of nudging, right? And then shift to side two. You might just lower onto the right rear, let the knees swerve to the right, take the ball, move the knees over to the left, move the ball to the right rear, and just kind of push it in so you don't have to tighten your glutes to get up on the ball, right? Like you did in bridge pose. You have to kind of feel them gripping. So feel as you glide across, make sure the ball is high enough. But we don't want it really low. We want it to be high enough so it feels like it's the blend of the pelvis and it's that whole zone, glute zone 2. We're in glute zone 2 now. Between the 3 muscles, right, on that area, the glute zone. And then feeling your hips. I bet if we were to kind of monitor how your movement was, one side you might move a little different than the other to get the feeling of massaging the glutes. Go glutes, go. Okay. Get glute free. So feeling the pressure and noticing if you're breathing when you're waiting. Don't wait. Breathe here now. Okay, now I lower down, I move my knees left, I move the ball out, and then I just take the bolster and I move it with my feet and my hand over to the right side of my mat. And this is indeed one where you're moving from your pelvis. Okay, so I just keep the knees really bendy. And then as I swing the leg over to the bolster, I kind of cradle it with my left leg touching on top. And it's not like a perfect line, right? So I let my foot kick over. And sometimes having a blanket on top of the bolster is really helpful. So if it's like you're gripping to do this, you can either put a block on top of the bolster and your leg on that, or you can add a blanket, add a ball to the sacrum area, and or not. Just add a sandbag to the outer left hip. It's been a particularly twisty set today that we've done, working with pelvis, spine, hip. So you might feel a little fatigue going into the final shapes here. So take it easy. Acknowledge your effort to be in this pretty full practice here. So you might want a little higher support under your head with your blanket. And then let the left arm be open. And your right hand can rest on the cord or the floor. The floor is core. Feel the revolved core muscles, the twisting. So revolved in our poses really means twisting work. Revolving. Like a turnstile. Yeah, the leg is having trouble relaxing and stretch. It's a hip. Hip is maybe tight. So, and maybe just feeling a little lack of flexibility. So you can get your hand on that sandbag and kind of move it, jostle it a little bit, soothe it. And you can come out of the pose soon or two. Last few moments. Working on circulation. Taking the sand off and then shifting sides. Not too long of a twist on the last one. So come back, center, feet. Push into your feet with your hips to the right. Remember, move hips, pelvis, everything together. Grab your bolster, move it to the left, and then relax the left leg and kind of swing out of the pelvis to move your right leg over to the bolster. Ball at the back of the pelvis is, it's up to you. You know, if it's a nothing for you, you don't need to. But some people like the little bit of anchor that it gives. And then a sandbag option. Now sand can go hip proper, meaning I can just have it here, but then it seems to drag my hip to the right. So I want my pelvis to move towards the left. So I'm going to slide my sand on the side of that thigh, close to my knee. And then my right arm opening my chest, my shoulder, and the front. It feels kind of nice. Let the shoulder just roll back. Just a few moments. Head can roll to the right or it can stay centered. Standing in your mid back, where there's the twist, to the lower back, the arch. Feel that repetition of breath and rotation. Center of the sand. And as you push the sandbag off and down, maybe towards the wall or down towards your feet, move the ball. And then take your time to roll to the left and set up for your final pose. And this is a Shavasana style posing. So that means we use props. And you could say propping a lot makes it more easeful, right? I would say. So having a bolster under the pelvis is not for everyone. Some people like a blanket because it's just too much work on their hamstrings to get this close. But when I was at the training, we did this with the block under the bolster, and it was leaning up like that. And then you have two blankets here, so it was a lot easier on the hamstrings. So if your hamstrings are really tight, or you're teaching us, this is a way easier way to do this if your hamstrings are tight. But we've been doing this a long time like this. So I think this group is kind of used to maybe having that flexibility to get the legs this close. You can also put your blocks in your bolster and just let your legs rest on your bolster, your feet, right? So that's option 2. So we're going to move to a wall space if you like, or make a bolster bench. And you're going to sit up on the bolster. And again, if you don't feel comfortable with legs up the wall, don't do it. But you do have to go on your shoulder to get the legs up. It's not the legs as much as it's the sacrum rolling. So if you can't sit on your heels, it's okay. It's taught most often that way to get up. But you are rolling under the shoulder and the sacrum rolls to get the legs swinging up, right? Okay. Now you get as close as you're comfortable. Now that could mean for some of us, we move our bolster a little bit away, and then that's more comfortable, right? Space for my hamstrings. And some of us are really used to this regimen of getting really close and the inversion's greater, right? The higher up the legs, just like a headstand, right? I guess you could say the more regenerative, right, for your lymphatic system flush, but let's be realistic. If you're shaking in it, it's not going to be very regenerative, right? So you got to get your nervous system to settle a bit. So when I take my legs up, whether I got my bolster away from the wall or straight into it, I'm going to add my sand to the soles of my feet. For some of us won't do that. We'll have our legs lifting, and that's good. Okay. So with the legs resting, if you have an eye pillow, I highly recommend using it. That curtain of darkness is helpful. You know, but if you have your blanket nearby, you can make a little bit of a hoodie, right? You can place it over your forehead, a little bit over the eyes, and relax the brain. Okay. So some of us might choose that, right? We might not even use our blanket under our head. We might take the blanket and unfold it, right, and place it over a forehead. Okay. So you can kind of play with that a little bit. Okay. If that's comforting for you. Okay. But you be the decider. We'll have a whole little episode on that. Creating a hoodie in your last pose. Okay, arms open, relax your breath. Drop in. Just kind of feel where the movement is of the ribs, spreading out. And follow that breath to its end range. Doesn't mean we're competing with ourselves, but feeling as you in-breath, in through the nose, and get enough height under your head that's cozy. Make sure the neck is happy. And on the end of the exhale, really follow that to its end where there's a stop. And then you start again. With the belly pulsing. Let the jaw relax, so the bottom tooth rest down. I think oftentimes the cue of relaxing your tongue is probably one of the best for softening the face. Now, if your legs are up on a bolster bench, stay for a few more moments with the legs up. If you're at the wall, shift the feet away from the wall. If you happen to have sand, you're going to bend your knees and remove it. That could mean tossing it, getting a hold of it and moving it. And then just let the leg come back on up. Just kind of shake it out a little bit in upper leg. Like kind of feel the legs this way before you step into your feet again. Whether your legs are on a bolster or at the wall, right? You won't be the same moments away when you step on it, right? So feel how there's no gravity pressing into the spine. It's just kind of releasing the back, the pelvis, the diaphragm. It's kind of a nice gift to your breathing muscles to be here. As long as you're not congested. Practice this often, even if it's just once every few days. It's still going to be helpful. So softening the legs, bending the knees, and then just rolling to the side. Let your hands help push you up. And take a seat on your bolster, or if you're on the floor without the bolster under your seat, you can sit on a blanket and just elevate through the spine. Kind of feel where the energy is now, the sitting bones. Drop your tail. And let's bring our arms together. So we bring the arms close, we bring the hands together. And let's inhale the breath, opening the arms out. And exhale, bowing into the peace within.